Welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast, where we talk about struggles and celebrations that leaders and entrepreneurs experience on their journey to success. I'm your host, Kristina, and I'm passionate about helping you achieve massive amounts of success at work and at home. We'll talk about all things people and organizational wellness, share relatable stories, and feature insightful guests because quality people and processes are at the heart of every success story. Ready to learn, grow, and have fun? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast. I'm your host, Kristina Schmitt. Decisions are tough sometimes for us, but they are so critical, whether it's at work or at home. And I have so many clients say, I struggle with decisions. I need help making decisions. So I am super excited to bring you today's guest, Amy Day. So Amy is a Stanford-trained decision educator, counselor, and advisor with more than 20 years of experience of helping people make decisions and they trust in every single area of their lives. Welcome, Amy. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, before we get into the whole decision making, tell us a bit about yourself. Where do you live? Family?
Oh, yeah. I live near Seattle, and I have 3 children who have grown in their various phases of being home and leaving home, and I have a husband, and we live on a little rural or little urban farm, actually. So we live on his childhood home that we bought and have chickens and a garden. And so I live an interesting life. Sometimes I'm dressed like this and sometimes I'm in work overalls.
Love it. My one thing, I'm like, we get chickens.
Yeah, I can tell you all about it.
Awesome. Excellent. So tell us a bit more about your organization and what you do.
Yeah. So a little bit about my organization. So I'm a decision educator. I teach people how to make great decisions. And for me, I was actually born in a decision laboratory. And people are sort of shocked. They're like, what? Were there lab coats and gurgling test tubes and people with clipboards? I'm like, no. But in my lifetime, I was born into a household where my dad was at Stanford University working with his best friend and collaborator. And my dad is Jim Matheson. And he was one of the early pioneers of an entire field of thinking around decision making. And it was decision making specifically for like operations research and development. And how do we have companies make better decisions to make more profit, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff. So this was all happening my entire life. And myself, my siblings, the other children of these crazy innovators, right? We all were the unexpected byproduct. We were actually the evolution of our parents' work, which is they would come home and talk about thinking about decisions in a new way, right? And we just internalized it like native speakers of a language. And so for me, I've never not done what I do to make decisions. And it's based in science. Like they're big thinkers like Kahneman Tversky, who did work in cognitive biases at Stanford, and on the East Coast. And like all these big thinkers were part of this initial movement to talk about like what happens when people make decisions. And so I've spent the last 20 plus years, once I realized I was born in a decision laboratory and that I did things differently, unwinding it and saying, how could I create a scaffolding so that everybody could have this? And so that's the reason I started a nonprofit with my friend Kristen. We created the VIDA Method that we'll talk about, I'm sure. It's like how it was unpacking that and creating a structure so anybody can learn to make a great decision. And I'm on a mission to just democratize that. Stop the suffering of swirl. I'm not immune to problems or stress. I just know what to do when that happens. I have a strategy. I have a framework, right?
Amazing. And it's really what we need for all of our, leadership and life skills. Those things, when we're able to cope well, it's because we have a process to do it with, or a framework and a way that we can, even when we're stressed, we can go back to and go step by step. So it kind of brings the anxiety down and it just allows for a clear decision, as your intro says, that you can trust. Because when you're trying to make decisions, when you're not in a great state, it is a problem.
Well, and what happens when you have to do heavy lifting with your brain at work and things are melting down at home and your brain is already full, right? Like These are real things. We talk about our lives being siloed. They are not. We're one human being functioning in different spaces. And if our decision making gets better in any space in our life, at work, at home, in our community, whatever it is, with ourselves, just with ourselves. That's why we always start with ourselves. It's like, if I can be better, then I can start to be the epicenter of my own world, my own decision laboratory, and really think differently and support people in a different way. And I'm just doing weightlifting. I'm weightlifting like from where I am, learning some skills, practicing them, getting better at it. And it's amazing how it can change the conversations we're having and the results we're getting in life. Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about your process that you created. So the VIDA process. So tell us about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So VIDA, which means life in Spanish, it was a happy accident. Kristen and I were on my back lawn trying to figure out, like, could we have an acronym or something? And we look at it and I said, wait a second, this spells VIDA. And she's like, Amy, that's crazy. I said, I was an exchange student in Costa Rica in high school and in Madrid in college. So like, that is my second language, aside from maybe it's my third, because decision making is one of my languages. But it was amazing. It was like, wait a second, that means life. And it is life giving because you're the one in charge and you can create the life you want. And so it's an easy acronym and everybody can do this. And it's like, have you ever had something you were fixing, right? And my dad tells this great story. He's like, his best friend, Ron, who was like co-founded the entire field, name, decision analysis, like all this stuff, always carried a jackknife with him. And 99% of his problems were solved with a jackknife. And 1% of the time he went to his tool collection that take up an entire garage of tools from around the world. And he'd be like, oh, here's the little special thing I got in Japan. This is perfect. So I'm going to give you the jackknife to start. Okay. And then it drives deep, right? Each pillar drives deep. Here it is. So, and I'm going to demonstrate this in the center as a circle over your heart is your values. Who am I? Every decision that I've ever been walked through with my family, ever worked through with any clients or in classes is this idea of starting with yourself and asking good questions. So, who am I? This is not an existential question. This is, what do I care about? What are my core values? Right? What are my what are my strengths? What do I bring to the table? Not what am I missing? What do I have? What is my vision? Where am I going? That lives in this values silo. This central point of the epicenter is you. So get connected to what you care about. Okay? Super easy. Next level out is my internal operating system, what's going on. We're born into biology and physiology, right? So we have a brain, we have a heart, we have feelings, wisdom, intuition. We have all these things that come together about our biology when we're stressed out, all that stuff. This is a question about decision fitness. Are you decision fit? So how am I? How am I? So people say, well, what's decision fitness? Well, when I dealt with this the other day with my friend, when you're pissed off and you want to send that email, you are not decision fit. You are jacked up. It's okay. It's okay. It's normal. It is normal to feel like that. It's normal to feel like that. I just want to normalize like feeling jacked up, feeling overwhelmed. All that stuff's normal human brain stuff. Don't act on it. You're not decision fit. Don't make a decision about what you're going to send. Open an email with nobody in the to line. And if you need to dump that stuff out of your brain, dump it into a document, dump it somewhere, dump it on a piece of paper. Do not put anybody in that to line so that you can delete it. So that you can go back to, what do I need to do to take your first decision when you're not decision fit is to take care of yourself. Then decide. So a great acronym, quick acronym. Any parents out there, this is great with your kids. It's great with your own parents too. Like I've got aging parents. It's like, are you hungry, angry, lonely, tired? Spells HALT. It comes from AA. It's a great strategy. I add an S because sometimes we're stressed and we don't recognize that we're hungry, angry, lonely, tired. That's actually a deeper look, right? We're just like, I'm stressed. I'm freaking out right now. Okay. Is there hunger? Is there anger, lonely, tired? Figure out what you need in that moment to boost your decision fitness so that you can then make a good decision. So my kids would walk in from school and they'd be like, like there's sort of like a dump of like all these things happened. And I'd already be making food and be like, I was hungry. Are you hungry? Would you like some? And it didn't matter if I was hungry or not. I was like making food. It's because I knew they're exhausted. They're not decision fit. The other things that in business and in personal life, the other things that can jack us up are cognitive biases. It's in our brain. It's how we process information. Heuristics are this brilliant Nobel Prize winning idea from Daniel Kahneman. He wrote the book Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow. This idea, and Amos Tversky came up with this whole idea of like, this is how we filter out all this information bombarding at us, is we put it into, this is a very simplistic way of looking at it, into buckets, right? Information comes in constantly. It's only getting more. Bucket, bucket, bucket. There's a bug in the system. It's not our fault. It's just a bug, a glitch. Sometimes we missort. And our minds also always want to conserve energy. That's its job, is to conserve energy. So it's conserving energy for us. And so it's going to simplify things, or it's going to attach to things the wrong way. So to watch for moments, the most common ones I see in personal and business decision making, is people think they have two options. Our brains are tired. We're going to simplify to two. And I invite everybody to say, what else? What would be a crazy thing to do? Like, pull yourself out of that biased thinking. And there's a lot in the next step of the VIDA method that helps you do that. The other is sunk cost. I've put so much time or energy into this training, this career, this relationship. We overvalue what we have or what we want. We overvalue it and we weigh it by what we invested in with our time or our money, instead of asking a simple question of, would I do it today? I'm not saying that everybody should like reject their best friend and say, yeah, it's not working right now. It's okay. Like, we all get to like deal with the nuance of relationship. I'm not suggesting that. But what I am saying is that's a good way to think about it and say, would I do it today? Or what would I do today? See, notice they're all questions to help you break out of this bias of the pull of the sunk cost to say, I'm a decision maker going forward. This can inform me, but what's going forward? So that's, I know it was long, but my internal operating system just can jack us up. So take care of yourself, rest if you're tired, like all those things. And I get hangry. So I automatically have a snack when I have a big decision to make. So I proactively go, what's my little thing that gets me off base, right? And I deal with that, and I have just a habit around it. Next level out. So who am I? How am I? Next level out is the decision process. That's D. And the question is, what could I? And this is where you want to integrate your great logical mind, your powerful thinking, and your deep, wise feelings and intuition, like your heart. We call it your heart, right? Your whole heart in it. This is not about rejecting one for the other. Like, well, in business, I need this. No. We're whole people. We need to integrate all of these things. Of course, objectives are different in business than in personal life, right? I'm not suggesting like, that at work we need to be inappropriate in some way or whatever, but connect to your heart. Why does your work matter to you? Why does your work matter to you, right? Notice we're in the decision process. What would the craziest person do? Like, what would somebody who thinks opposite to me do? There's 6 steps to it. You're really creating a robust, well-informed decision. And the more complex it gets, the deeper you want to get into that decision process, right? And then finally, A is action. Your decision has not been made till it exists in the world, till you take action. So this is where we get to think about who can support me. How am I going to implement this? What does that look like? And then within that action, we're making little implementation decisions all the way through. And I think in business, that we can get tangled in these implementation decisions along the way while we're maintaining this vision of what we want at the end. So, VIDA, who am I? How am I? What could I? How will I? 4 questions. That's your jackknife. Ask yourself that question. When you're stuck at any moment, go, okay, wait, let me try it. And I would love to know if it works for people. It works for me every time. Every time. So I'd love to know how it works for people. Yeah.
So simple. I love how simple it is and practical. If you're struggling decisions, listeners, jump on this and give it a go. I just want to ask some questions to kind of help
Yep.
people see it as well. Now, do you each time do you go through the V and the like? Definitely, you want to say how am I, but do you always go back to the V? And if not, because in theory your values are the same, but
Mm-hmm.
is there ever a risk around not hitting that V up and kind of checking in?
I think that if it's a quick decision, the V is so fast for me. It's just like, I know who I am. I know what I like. I don't have if it's a situation where I don't have confusion about it,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know what I want. I'm like, oh, go back to V, right? Like if I hit an obstacle and then I go back to V. Our values, some of them are our core values, like forever. We can kind of see a through line. Other values are, situation dependent. So there might be something in a specific situation that is a value that you care about. Like say it could be a team member you're supporting, or it could be your own kid.
Mm-hmm.
And you're I want to foster their autonomy, or I want to foster their independence. It may not be a core value for me, but it's a value that matters to me in this situation, in what I want to foster for somebody else or support in somebody else. And it's connecting that desire of yours, what you want for that person, with their values. So you don't have to always tap in. I always tap into how am I. Always. Always. Because I'm like, wait, I'm not okay.
Exactly. I think it's one that we tend to skip, especially when it's like everything is blowing up. We're thinking, I have to get to the decision, I have to get here. And it's almost like with any process, making sure you go all the way back to the V and kind of say, yeah, still aligns good. But that like looking at myself, taking the deep breath to just pause for a minute or even a second.
So having a strategy,
Yes.
whether it's at work or at home, you know what? I need to go get a drink of water.
Okay. Yeah, we can
I
pause.
need to take a bio break. I'm sorry. Let me just step away. Like, they don't need to know that, like, actually you're hyperventilating inside and you're like, I'm feeling flooded.
Yeah.
What's so interesting about research is it shows that people actually, like, there was a study done of parole judges, and these parole judges are looking at parolees and they're granting it 65% of the time. They're granting parole. And then as lunch approaches, their parole granting goes to zero or close to it. Then they take a break, they have a meal, they come back to it, it's back to 65%. Now, there's all kinds of influences about like why that would be, right? I think there's more research being done about that specifically, but we see it in our lives anecdotally. So it's the power of the pausing and resting. Is this really an urgent decision? There are times when I've said to my family and to people I'm working with, in any setting, I'm like, you know what? I'm not decision fit right now. We can talk about, or you're not decision fit. Like my kids, like, you're not decision fit right now. It's 1 a.m. and you're waking me up. You have a problem. I'm happy to listen. We could capture things. We can like help people unpack what's really going on or what decision they're actually making. I'm like, neither of us are decision fit. We're not deciding till tomorrow. It's not urgent. It's not urgent. And I think that's the big thing. It's like, do we really have to make this right now? We could stage it. We could pause. But even that pause of saying, I need to go get a drink of water and take 5, walk around the office, go splash water on your face, do some jumping jacks in the bathroom. I'm actually not kidding. Like, if you can, maybe jumping jacks too aggressive, but like, get your heart rate going, like change your state, get your mind out of it. Decision fatigue is a real thing. It's scientifically a real thing. We're overloaded. Now there's more information and we're even more overloaded. So if you recognize you're fatigued, our brains only have so much capacity. That muscle wears out. And when it wears out, we start to get grumpy or pissed off or shut down or overwhelmed, right? Sometimes it's just decision fatigue. The muscle is tired. Like you've done too many sit-ups and you can't do one more. Yeah. So listen to that. If you're snapping at the dog, maybe you're decision fatigued and you actually just need to like do some self-care. And we're humans. Yeah.
I love the language that you have of I'm not decision fit right now. Like it becomes so simple. Like I find myself, my kids will like randomly start asking me for something, and I'm like in the middle of something else, and I'm just like, not right now. And they don't like that.
Yeah.
Makes them feel put off. And it's the same. I always say we're the same as adults as we are as kids, because we still have
Yeah.
our inner children in us many, many times and many,
Oh,
many
yes.
yes. And so if it annoys the kids are going to show us, but our team isn't going to show us that annoyance. So when you can say,
No.
we're not decision fit, that's modeling good emotional intelligence, that understanding of yourself,
Yeah.
that understanding of the other as well, so that you can now
Right.
respond, not react to the stress in the situation.
Absolutely. And there's some things we can do about decision fitness.
Mm-hmm.
This idea of decision fitness came out of work on breast cancer patients, actually, that my dad did back in the 90s, I think. It's like how do you cope with things when you get really bad news, right? You're suddenly not decision fit. You get bad medical news, you are not decision fit.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, people are asking you to make decisions about cancer treatment. And you're like, wait, but you told me 5 minutes ago that I have cancer and it might kill me. You're jacked up, right?
Yeah.
But there are things we can do to support our decision fitness. And just so I don't lose the thread, I want to make sure that I love what you're doing with your kids. And I love that you own the decision fit. Like, you know what? I'm on decision overload right now. Could you write me a post-it so I make sure we don't forget to come back to this? Can I meet with you in a few minutes or an hour or this evening or whenever it makes sense, right? Then it becomes about you, not them feeling like, see, I'm a bad person, like I interrupted or whatever the thing is. So I just, that you can flip it and say, I'm not decision fit right now. I'm in overload. I need to take a moment, but could you write that down so we don't forget? Because I don't want to forget to support you. So you're showing that they're important to you. You're actually showing your values of your love of your family. That's a value, right? Right? So you're just showing that in that moment of utter stress. You're just like, I want to honor you and not now, but in a really lovely way, right? So there are things we can do about decision fatigue and decision fitness. There are things we can do to improve our decision fitness. Recognizing what time of day for ourselves or our team is that where we're at our peak performance. That's why a lot of meetings are in the mid-morning. People have had their coffee, they've eaten, their brain's going, they're kind of in it, and their peak performance. Teenagers' peak performance sometimes is 11 p.m. So orienting to peak performance for you or your team when you're actually playing to the strength of not being tired. That's one. So think about the timing. Take breaks. Say, hey, we're going to just take a break, walk around. It's going to help your mental state. Call it out. Say, hey, I think we're getting fatigued here. Call it out. Raise awareness. I'm getting fatigued right now. Is anybody else? Like, let's take a little break, right? You'd even have a policy of like, if you're starting to get fatigued, let me know. We'll take a break because you want people's best thinking, right? And nourishment. That's why big meetings have snacks. Nourishment. Drink water. Stand up. Say, hey, let's keep having this meeting. Anybody who's able, just let's stand up and have this. Let's keep meeting because we got to get this decision done. Let's stand up for 5 minutes while we're meeting. And then if you get tired, sit down. But let's move a little bit while we're talking. So you're just engaging your mind and your body, right?
Now, we've talked a lot about like ways that stress will bring us down. Is there like lack of decision fit? Can it be with too much energy? I sometimes will find myself too excited about something and I overcommit. Can it be just like, is that the same thing as being not decision fit? Like getting like,
yeah, it's so funny because you're tipping into needs right now, which is really funny. There's this whole list. It comes out of the work of Mark Rosenberger, who did nonviolent communication. And it's like there's this list of your needs, like your feelings when your needs are being met and your feelings when your needs aren't being met. And you're talking about that ecstatic, frantic, that's actually an indicator feeling that your needs are not being met. It's really interesting. So when we think about decision fitness and kind of being in this like this green zone, like kids are taught about the green zone of in school. Some schools teach about this, like, are you ready to learn? Right? That ecstatic, frenzied, that if you've ever had a friend who's like in a new relationship and madly in love and they're crazy,
yes, yes.
they are not decision fit. And it's wonderful. And I bless them. It's wonderful. It's just so wonderful. But it's that,
Yes.
it's just kind of a funny way of representing it. But you can be in this ecstatic state that actually you're not grounded. You're not decision fit. And so I invite people who maybe I've had this problem before. It's like, I'm so excited. Yes, 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 yes. Right. To pause, just put a pause in. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Can I get back to you in an hour? Can I get back to you tomorrow about how I'd like to proceed? It forces you to spend a little time with it, get grounded, and you're a cheerleader and you're excited. And that's probably one of your strengths, right? Right. So if that's your, if cheerleading is your strength, it is for me. It's like, that's a strength. It's a zone of genius. We talk about being your zone of genius. Yes, be in your zone of genius. But sometimes it kind of bites us a little bit. I cheerleaded myself into doing something that I'm like, what? I don't have time. So to back up and pause and give yourself a lead time to separate from the situation. What do I really want? Back into values. Hello. What do I want out of this? Right? When we're in values, it's who am I? But it's also this question of what do I want? What do I want? Because that's driven by values, right? And so it's like, is this getting me more of what I want? Great. If it's not, or if you're like, I'm doing a favor for my friend and I feel like that friendship's really meaningful and yes, I want it, then great, do it. Right. But if it's a distraction, it just seems like shiny new object, shiny object. Woo. Like that's exciting for cheerleaders. Like, yay, squirrel. So just putting the pause in, putting and practicing setting in a pause. Notice pausing when you go get a drink of water, or pause. Just pause. It doesn't cost you anything. My gosh, can you hear that phone ringing in the background? I'm like, okay, I'm just going to pause. I'm just going to pause. We're going to pause. There, I just hung up on him. I'm like, I silenced everything else. Okay, now your VA will really know when we start again because I'll be back in my seat. Okay. Oh, is there a cat back there? Oh, yeah, she's back there.
That came up just as we started. It was
Oh, that's really cute. He perches there. Anyway. All right. So we were talking about the pause.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's basically the same thing with the pause. Like we pause to de-stress and we pause to calm down. But either way, it's like it's coming back to the center. Where am I? Where do I need to be? Yes, exactly. The center of
the center.
The values. Yes, I love it.
We're back at the epicenter, which is you. Like as the decision maker, it's you. You're the epicenter.
Yeah.
So I just think there's so many shoulds in life. Shoulds. I've got to get it right. Mm-hmm. I need to be perfect. What if they find out I'm not perfect? What if they secretly find me out? What if they find out I'm a fraud? Like there's all this dialogue that happens in there.
Yeah.
I'm not immune to that dialogue. I am not. Mm-hmm. I'm not immune to having things not work out. Like I'm not immune to that. I want to speak for a second because the words just came out of my mouth. I'm not immune to things not working out. I want to be really clear about decisions. Like the first distinction made in decision analysis back in 1960s was this idea. You make a decision. Okay. This is the anatomy of what happens. It passes through luck. So the common language is luck, good luck, bad luck, whatever. It's called uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen. And then you get an outcome. And our entire society is constructed. Bonuses, promotions, getting into the school, getting an A, anything, everything. We point to outcomes and say, look, bad outcome, bad decision. Good outcome, good decision. Wrong. I'm an archer. I go shoot arrows. This is fun. And everything, setting the target, putting the arrow in the knock point, pulling it back, aiming, how I'm standing, everything about that is my decision. The second I release the bow, right? Like I let go and that arrow's flying, it's now in the vicinity of luck and uncertainty, right? A puff of wind could blow, a leaf could fall and hit the arrow, an eagle could swoop down and grab it out of the air and take it away, right? The probability is very small that the eagle's going to show up. It could happen. right? All of that is uncertainty. And then it either hits the target or not. And maybe the wind gusts made it more on target. So the only way we know if we made a good decision, if we look at the decision, not the outcome. It's really easy for us to say you failed the test, you must not have studied, right? Or we say I had a fender bender. This is a conversation with ourselves. I had a fender bender, or I didn't get the promotion. And it means something's fundamentally wrong with me, even though you did everything right. The other person hit you and they were texting and driving and you were just part of their outcome, right? Right? You did everything right. You were wearing your seatbelt, you signaled, you did everything right, but we still beat ourselves up. Didn't get the promotion, did everything right, didn't get the promotion, right? We got to look at our decisions.
Just as a coaching point for leaders in your teams, parents and your kids, people and yourself, is that, okay, we can look at the outcome, but then taking that step back and kind of saying, what decisions did I make? And would I make the same decision again? And that becomes the coaching point,
Yes,
because I can't control that uncertainty point ever. So would I still make that same decision? And
right.
It's not a blame thing, saying it's not my fault I didn't do it. It's just analyzing, would I still make it? And maybe we find, like what you're saying, maybe we weren't decision fit when we made the decision, or maybe we were decision fit and it was the uncertainty thing. So, or we didn't do the right process and the details.
What you're talking about is learning.
Yes.
So I call decision reflection learning. And we get to be compassionate to the person we were or they were when they made the decision, right? So we get to show them or ourselves compassion and say, gosh, I didn't know, just like you illustrated so beautifully. I didn't know. I could have researched more reliable information. There's all kinds of things I could have done. That's where we can learn. Or we can learn, I did everything right and it turned out poorly. I'm going to do it again the right way because sincerely, the math shows, and I'm not going to go into the math, that your chances of it working out are higher, even if it didn't work out the last time and you did it all right. Your odds are better for a great outcome. Just think about texting and driving. People think they're magical. Text and drive, don't have an accident, but the probability of you having an accident is like the same as being drunk. So you're impaired when you're texting and driving. And we think I made it home fine, so it's okay, right? Not okay. Your odds of getting in an accident are higher. So keep doing the behavior and your odds are going up that you're going to have an accident. That's just the way it is. Same with the flip side, which is good things happening, right? So you're playing the odds in your favor.
Just thinking about that, even if outcome goes our way, I still think it's great to go back to, okay, well,
Yep.
Are we still happy with these decisions? Because there's still so much learning to be had, confidence to be gained, and all of that. Like just kind of understanding and being able to separate that uncertainty portion.
Yep.
My job out of my control job.
Absolutely. And I mean, just think about if you had a culture in your workplace or in your home where like, that went so well. What went well? Like, what did you do that got you here? Like in our household, what decisions did you make to get here was such a common thing to say. And what happened? Like, it was always about learning, even when we were in trouble. So it's about learning. It's about like, well, what decisions did you make to get there? Well, I cut school, right? I mean, I'm just being super real. Like, didn't live in a perfect life or wasn't a perfect person and made perfect decisions. It's like, I learned too, right? But because it was done with love and humor, like, I think the more we can show kindness and humor in any setting really enrolls people in their own lives and in being able to be coached by us as leaders, right? Like, I look at myself as a coach, not just to my clients or the businesses I present to or the classes I teach, or the teenagers I go talk to, right? It's also leading my family. It's talking to my husband or talking to my kids or my parents, or like, I'm leading it. And so the more we can show humor, kindness, self-compassion, compassion for their situation, the more willing they will be to listen to what we have to say or to listen to themselves, right? And have it be safe. Yeah. I think it's so funny how we want divergent thinking. Like we say, oh, in business, we want divergent thinking. And yet divergent thinking is punished in our society, right? It is. You had divergent thinking, it didn't work out. You're terrible. You made a mistake. You didn't do it right. Whatever the things are, we want divergent thinking because that's where innovation happens. But we're not willing for people to take the risk. There's an upside risk, there's a downside risk of what people are doing. Look at both. Have conversations about what is the upside of this idea. It's exciting. What's the upside? And then what could go terribly wrong, not to catastrophize, but to say, what could go wrong and how could we hedge for that? Right? It could, simple example, live in Seattle, it rains a lot. I want to go walk around in downtown Seattle. There's an 80% chance of rain. I'm getting information about what's unknown that I could know. The uncertainty is, will it rain or not? I only am going to know when I look, am I wet at 4:30 p.m.? Like, that's the only way I'm going to know about that uncertainty is when it happens. But I can know the weather report. I can get reliable information. And so to say, what bad could happen? I could end up sopping wet and miserable. Okay. So I could hedge against that by taking a raincoat. Or I could be willing to be wet. Now, if it's 80% chance of rain, I'm taking a raincoat, right? Like a lightweight thing. I'm going to drag it around all day. I'm going to take the lightweight one. So it's not as heavy. It's a hassle. I'm willing to do that. It's a great decision, whether it rains or not. Yeah. It's a great decision for Amy, because that's what I care about. I don't want to be wet all day. For Amy to take her raincoat. So I can hedge against that. And that's a very simplistic way of saying that. In business, you can do the same. You can do the same by saying what could go wrong so we can have scaffolding to help maximize the upside and minimize the downside. Right? Uh-huh.
To take control of the decisions, to really start into this. What's one thing a leader can do to just get started on using some of this VIDA process, or just getting that much better with decisions either for themselves or for their team?
Right. Okay. So I want to offer one strategy that we haven't talked about yet, but I do want to touch back to what we've talked about. One is just practice your own awareness of when there is a decision to make and when you're just reacting and when you could actually pause and just reflect and maybe have a better outcome. I had one gentleman who was 70 years old, end of his career, and just simply the awareness of how he was being with other people in decision making, just the awareness that he had a VIDA and that they had a VIDA too, and that he could pause and listen to them and hear what values they were saying that were talking to him, changed his life. He sent me an email, said, I wish I'd known this decades earlier. This has changed my life. So it starts with awareness. Be just aware. Be aware with your kids. Oh, not decision fit, decision fatigued. Oh, really decision fit? The time I broke news to my parents about things that had gone sideways, cutting school or something that had gone sideways during the day, I talked to them after dinner. Plates are still there. My brothers are there as kind of to protect me from other bodies in the space of it's not just me and my parents. And we all make mistakes, right? I had the awareness of they're more decision fit. Just be aware of it. Number one, think about VIDA. I do have a download. I think you have it in the show notes. It's a free download and it goes through each of these 4 steps and ask prompting questions. Start practicing it. Start practicing. You'll be amazed at what expands out. And then you're going to go, wait, but I need more. Why I'm here. That's why I'm here. I think the last thing I'd like to just talk about, to just give a really concrete tool for enrolling your team in when things feel like it's conflict. So team could be family, team could be work team, right? And I just want to, now that you know the VIDA method, I just want to share a few slides for people who are watching the video. And I'm going to talk through this so you can fully understand it for people who are just listening to the podcast. Let's see. No, I want this one. Okay. Can you see that? Okay. I want to talk about values. This is an integration of all 4 areas of VIDA. Okay. We start with values. I want you to think as values as a playing card. Okay. And your values are on one side of that playing card. And the thing about values is I might say community, and you might say community as your core value, as a core value, right? And we might define them completely differently. So what matters is how we define it. So I care about community because there's a because statement. What comes after the because statement is actually what you're anchoring into as a value. And that is tug of war, huge big fat rope. You played tug of war as a kid, and it's this huge rope you couldn't even get your hands around as a little kid. That's your values. When you're stuck, your values are going to energetically pull you forward through resistance. That is your magic, is your values. So sometimes we can have the same value name for something, and we actually define it differently. The other thing that can happen is the opposite. We can have two different names. One person says community, one person says family, and they have the exact same definition for it. Okay? It's what comes after the because statement. So if you think of the playing card, hold your hand out, and if your back of your hand is one side of the playing card, that's your values. Oftentimes, the flip side is a need that you have. So the palm of your hand is your need. So, right? So values are on one side. I value community. I need community. So then in my life, I'm going to have strategies to connect to that need, right? To meet that need. So what happens? What happens is we can be meeting a need that we have, and somebody on our team or our group is also meeting a need. And we think that our values and needs are in conflict when we say, no, we should do it this way. No, we should do it this way. Values and needs do not come into conflict. What actually happens is our strategies come into conflict. Okay. Our strategies, like, say my husband needs, time to just be in his own thoughts and be creative. And I have a need to be creative also, but I get inspired by being with people, right? Same value, conflict. And I say we should go out and like go to this art show. And he's like, that's like the last thing I want to do. I want to stay home, right? You have two conflicting strategies. So jump back up to the need to be creative. How else could you solve it? If you want to be together, maybe there's a hybrid solution. Hey, well, maybe we could go to that cool restaurant, have dinner together, because we need to eat anyway. The one that has the art on the walls, and I can just be chatting with the waiter, whatever, and we can eat, and then we can come home and have that quiet time you're looking for, right? Another strategy to meet the need, right? So when you have conflict, it's oftentimes strategies that are in conflict. Jump back up to needs and values. Get connected to why a project matters to your team. Why does it matter to your team members? It can sometimes seem like, well, we got so much work to do. Why would we spend time saying, why does this project matter to you? Because you're connecting them to the tug of war rope that's going to pull them through the situation. Now, I think the funny thing is, when you're paying people, right, they have to do whatever work you're paying them for, right? So that's actually a really great place to start practicing the skill, because if you're taking this to your family, they're not being paid. If they're like, I don't agree with that, I don't really want to do that, whatever, right? That you want to like think about how can you enroll them in being creative about creating a strategy that meets people's needs and addresses their values, right? So strategies come into conflict. Needs and values don't. We just have them. So if you're having tension in a team, or you're having somebody who's lacking ownership of a project and maybe it's lackluster. I know I've had projects where I'm like, I don't feel like doing this, whatever. Help them connect to the values behind it, the giant tug of war, not your values, their values. Why? Like, do some listening ask them about projects they've loved. They're going to give you all kinds of cues. I loved this about it. Oh, I was on its team and I was doing this other thing and it was so fun. I was creative and I just it was amazing. It just like flew out of me. You're like, okay, they just told me some values and I'm having them locked in an office by themselves with a spreadsheet. how could this become a collaborative thing for them? How could I engage them in a different way? How about rather than me getting the information for the spreadsheet for them to put in, how about I enroll them and they're going to go talk to the people, right? Right? So we're talking strategy, right? And then all of a sudden they're in because it's actually meeting their needs, but it takes listening to a time of success, right? A project that was meaningful and say, would it be helpful if maybe it seems like you're really isolated. Is that fun for you? Like,
they may not realize it either. Like,
no,
only being a spreadsheet person, and maybe they go and get their social time like during breaks or lunches or after work or whatever. And when you can help them see that, work can be fun, you can get your needs met at work, and it works, it plays into everything. And so like that's what we aim to get with the Working Genius assessment as well. And I had another podcast with Motivation Code that had all of that in there. So this whole connecting needs, and this is another way to dig deeper into what those needs are, helping you as the leader see what your team's needs are, and helping them as the team member see what their needs are so they can get them met. So
yeah, it's self-awareness and like joy in your life.
Yeah.
Have more joy, have more fun, have more, all of those things that make a rich life, right?
100%.
It's yeah.
Oh, awesome. All right. Well, Amy, this has been so informative, and just love all of this. I think the listeners are going to just find this amazing. So thank you so much. What is exciting coming up in your world that you want to share with
What's exciting? Well, so if you go get the download, you'll be on our email list. I send out decision wins emails. I give tips all the time on LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn newsletter just about shake and bake a little bit. Like, people don't even realize they have a decision to make. I even talk about that. Like, they have a feeling, there's usually a decision under it. So I talk about that all the time in all these different areas. And so the only way that I can talk to people is if I can communicate with them. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and it's Amy Day. Clarity for Action is my organization, but Amy Day is where I'm like posting a lot. And then be on our Get Decision Wins. Go get that download. Get these free tools. Decision making. And in pursuit of that, I'm actually in this mad sprint this week or this month of finishing my final edits of my book. So people, I know. I was like, I secretly want it to be like the Atomic Habits of Decision Making. Nobody's writing about it. Nobody's talking about the science of decision making. It sounds very boring, but it's super sexy and matters because like you're the decision maker and you get to create your whole life through the choices you make. That's it. And then uncertainty happens and then you get to decide more. Like, that's it. That's your ultimate power is in your decisions. So seize it. You've got this. And the VIDA Method is just a great way to start, and reach out if you have any questions. Amy@clarityforaction.org. Email me. It's fine. Like, I'm here to serve. So yeah.
Go to the show notes, grab the free download, connect with Amy on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Send a note if you want to reach out. So if you want to ask her a question directly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your gifts with us and your process with us, because I know it's going to help me, and I know it's going to help the listeners out there as well, and hopefully their team members as well.
Yeah.
So if you enjoyed today's episode, please like it, share it with a friend, share it with somebody who's looking to make some decisions, who needs to make some decisions in their life. Leave a comment on the YouTube and leave a review for us on your favorite podcast app. And I will see you on the next episode of the Business Building Blocks podcast.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Business Building Blocks podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. If you found value in our conversation, please leave a quick review, like, or share. It helps us reach more amazing listeners like you. For more resources and insights, visit KristinaSchmitt.ca, where you can find tools and support to empower your leadership journey. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.